It's time to get up. Nah. For real. Actual King Smith. Let's go. Wake up. What you sleeping on your life for? Wake up. Every day's a chance for more. Wake up. Hands up. Let the beat thump. Wake up. Hey, wake up. Alarm clock ringing, but your mind still tired. Dreams on snooze, yeah, goals on fire. Everybody talk, but few take steps. Same old excuses, different regrets. I ain't here preaching, I'm here reminded. Pressure make diamonds, timing divine. You got breath in your body, fire in your chest. So why you living like you set up for less? Get up off that couch, move your feet. New mindset every time we meet. No doom scrolling, no fear feet. It's the real talk over funky beats. Wake up. What you sleeping on your life for? Wake up. Every day is a chance for more. Wake up. Hands up, let the beat thump. Wake up. Hey, no cape, no crown, still king energy. Talk my truth, that's my identity. Life get heavy, yeah, I've been stressed. Still showed up, put hard in the test. If they doubt you, good, prove them wrong. Same doubt, fuel, make you go strong. Ain't waiting on luck, I hustle with faith. Mind don't progress, but put on the gas and say what? Say now, say move, say how, say what? Say what? Get in the bed, shut up and get up and wake up. It's a moment, don't waste none. Wake up. Sun still rise, so you ain't done. Wake up. Beat knocking, let your soul jump. Wake up. Hey, wake up. Yeah. This ain't motivation. This is a reminder. Wake up.
Yeah, what's up? What's good? What's happening? Welcome to my live stream. I am the actual King Smith, and this is Wake Up with King Smith live, January the 9th, 2026. Happy to be here today. Hope y'all are happy to be alive. Today, I am going to give my Zepbound update, which is what I do every Thursday, affectionately called the Zepdate. And I said the wrong date. It is January. Wait, what day is it? It is January the 8th. Let me try that again. We live January the 8th, 2026. I just woke up. Literally, I'm going to tell y'all what I do. Y'all can see this shirt's wrinkly. I just woke up, got out of bed. I do my pre-production stuff for this the night before. I wake up, wash my face, make sure I get all the crusties out of my eyes, pick the beard a little bit, and then I click go live after I have something to drink so that my voice isn't raspy. But I'm going to give my Zepbound update as I've been doing here over the last couple of weeks on Thursdays here. And I'm going to show what my BMI is. I went to the doctor yesterday before I have my next update in dosage. And I'm going to get into all of that. And I'm going to show what my BMI currently is and show y'all the progress as well. So let me start with that. Then we're going to give an update on the Venezuelan ex-president Maduro case and what happened this week. And then we're going to end with the craziness that's going on in Minnesota. If you haven't been living under a rock and you've had the news up, then you would have heard about another incident. It seemed like Minneapolis, Minnesota is always catching wreck in some form or fashion. Things were boiling over there as there have been DHS raids that have been occurring. And the people have been fighting back against this. And there was something tragic that was caught on video. I'm going to show a YouTube safe version for what had happened. And I'm going to ask y'all a question to see if y'all agree with it. So let's start with this. This is my Zepbound update. And this is what my BMI was. This is pulled right from my patient portal account, in which August 28 of 2025, my BMI was 43.88. I don't know what the kg over M2 is. I know that kg is typically kilograms, but I don't know what the actual numbers like mean as far as how it comes up. But my starting BMI was 43.88. That was my starting line. Then in October, it was down to 43.13, which was small steps. And as of 2 days ago, actually, not yesterday, so this was on Tuesday, my BMI was showing at 40.49, which is progress. That's a 3.39% drop in just over 4 months. So that's something to celebrate, right? That's telling me that the Zepbound is working, especially since for the most part, I haven't really had a change in my physical fitness activity because I'm somebody with heart disease. So that drop is showing consistency. And in the medical world, consistency beats intensity. I haven't crashed. I just simply chipped away at everything. I survived the holidays, which means I stayed disciplined and had consistent drops through Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's in New Orleans, which if this was the old me and I would have had an appetite, then I would have eaten pretty much, I would have gained 6 pounds coming out of New Orleans for New Year's. But I'm on the 10 milligram shot of Zepbound, which I take on Wednesdays now. And it really affects my appetite. It's a really good appetite suppressor, so I don't eat as much. I consume a lot less calories. And going from last week to this week, I didn't have any major updates or things that concern me that happened bad. Everything has been working as advertised. People usually fall off the wagon around the holidays. So I'm pretty excited to be able to have that consistent drop. And while my BMI says that I'm in a critically high label, I can't just turn around years of bad habits in one day or just using a GLP-1 like Zepbound or Ozempic. All right. But the arrow is pointing down. The trend line is going that way. And for me, that's a victory. I'm also out here wearing extra larges instead of 2X's in my shirts now. And it fits real good and I look good in it. So I'm happy about that. So if you're out here struggling, or if you're worried about comparing yourself to others because your loss while you're on a GLP-1 might be slower than others, just take a look at the trend line. And at least if you're trending in the right direction, that's a good thing. Now, I was curious what would be a healthy BMI for me that takes me out of the red. So this BMI at 40, the next step for me or the next goal is to see my BMI get under 35. So when I stepped on the scale at the doctor's office, and that was with everything that I was wearing, I stepped on the scale at 264. But to see my BMI be under a 35, the number on the scale would have to be under 240, like around 235. So that's the next goal weight for me. And I'm curious, based on this trend line, when I would expect to see it. So I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT said, based on the rate that I'm losing now and what I'm expected to lose with the current, given my current physical activity and the meds and stuff that I'm taking, I can expect to be down to that weight by the summertime. So we'll see. We'll see. I'll definitely take that and go from there. Now, let me take a look to see if we have any comments before I go to the next subject here. We got Will 4K in the building, said, good morning, man. What up, pimp? I appreciate you tuning in. Hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are at, because you be moving, man. I like it. I like it. Let me take that off the screen. Now, next thing we have here is, I promised to give an update about the ex-Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro, the guy who has been running Venezuela with an iron fist and is currently still sitting in jail as part of the Operation Absolute Resolve. Now, watching some of the videos, which I don't have those videos pulled up, and having him transferred, that's a whole process that the federal government does when they move a guy like that. And the fact that they've had these cameras and stuff around, getting these photos, this has been a little bit different, especially coming from a sitting ex-president of a nation. Okay? So the indictments that they hit this fool on: count 1, narco-terrorism conspiracy. The government alleges that Maduro and co-defendants knowingly and intentionally conspired to engage in narcotics trafficking in association with designated terrorist organizations with the intent to enrich themselves and provide financial support to these groups. And this count originates from actions that were spanning from at least 1999 through the end of 2025, in which they snatched his ass up, and is charged as a conspiracy to violate narcotics laws in association with terrorism, which is a powerful legal designation tying drug distribution to international terrorism. The second count that they hit on with was cocaine importation conspiracy, alleging that Maduro and his associates conspired to knowingly and intentionally import cocaine into the U.S. from outside the country, specifically large quantities of cocaine transported through Venezuela. And this count focuses specifically on the importation part, separate from the terrorism linked statute from count 1. The third count that they hit him on: possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and that the ex-Venezuelan president used and possessed machine guns and destructive devices in furtherance of the narco-terrorism and cocaine importation conspiracies. And the fourth count that they hit him with was conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive. So there's possession and conspiracy to possess, which I was like, well, what's the difference from that? I really couldn't find out legally what the difference was. Only that the charging doc says that Maduro and co-defendants agreed to procure, possess, and use machine guns and destructive devices in connection with the narcotics and narco-terrorism activities that were listed above. What that means legally, for what I could tell, is that these charges combine drug trafficking law and terrorism-related drug conspiracy laws and weapon offenses. The most serious one is that narco-terrorism conspiracy, which is count 1, as it ties international narcotics distribution to designated terrorist groups as part of the conspiracy. So if the judge and the prosecutor can link him to that, that's life, period. He ain't getting out of jail. He ain't seeing the light of day. All right. So what do y'all think? I shared and showcased that the people in the Venezuelan country and some people here in the U.S. were celebrating his capture, saying that they needed to get his ass out of there. I don't follow world politics like that for me to know if this is good for Venezuela and us or not. But I guess time will tell. Now, the last thing that I want to cover and go over on my next segment is the Minnesota ICE shooting. Now, things in the U.S. are starting to get heated already in 2026. We're only 8 days in. Yesterday in Minnesota, an ICE agent was shot, and an ICE agent shot at, my bad, and killed a woman during an operation. Now, from what I've gathered and looked at, the DHS and ICE, which is the Department of Homeland Security, says that their agents were conducting a targeted operation when a woman who was identified as 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good from Colorado used her vehicle as a weapon, and the claim And what they said is that she tried to run over an agent and he fired in self-defense. Now, I'm going to play the video. And this is one of the angles. There were several angles that came out from this. And I want y'all to tell me if what DHS is saying is what y'all see. And I wish I could slow it down. Let me see if I can slow this down. Will said, hard to have a comment on that, but a lot of people from the U.S. play with that white girl. So who is taking the loss here? LOL. Let's watch the video and see if y'all still feel the same way. Let's take a look.
ICE vehicles. So she had blocked the traffic so they couldn't get through. And ICE was screaming at her to move. And then they got really aggressive and went over to her driver's side door and tried to open her door. And then she obviously got spooked and started to reverse. And then an officer approached her and leaned across, like got in front of her vehicle, and then leaned across the hood of her car and shot her point blank in the face. It was 3 or 4 shots. And then her foot just went all the way down on the gas and she tried to escape, and then hit a telephone pole and crashed into some cars.
All right, so this was a first-hand eyewitness account of what had occurred. Now, YouTube has it so that I can't show the video that's unedited from where it happened. So I'm gonna see if I can go back in this video here. So if you look right here, and I'm gonna play this slow, and we come in here and change the playback speed. We'll see how slow I can get it to go, and then mute it while I show the video here. So you see her back it up here. All right, and it's hard to tell from this angle, but right here in front of the vehicle is an agent. Now, these other agents and stuff are off to the side. And the way that her car was parked perpendicular to the street, it was to effectively block the ICE agent cars from, I guess, moving down that street, because that neighborhood was where they were getting, they were doing the operation. So her goal, this 37-year-old person, was to sit there and block ICE from doing what they needed to do. Now, again, this is shown in a manner so that you can't necessarily see what happens, and that's for YouTube protection purposes. You can find the video on other platforms. And out of all of these agents that are there, this one agent pulls out his service weapon and takes about 4 shots, from what I remember hearing, right into the driver's side of that vehicle. She gets hit and then drives off. And this one agent's the one that like gets down while everybody else is standing there. And then there was an aftermath and some chaos. The agent that drew his service weapon just casually walks away. Now, in my opinion, that one agent was the one who was trigger happy, because none of the other agents got out there and put their service weapon. They started moving out of the way. So this one agent felt like, oh, if I sit in front of this car, the car's going to stop because I'm standing right here with a gun. Now, I'm going to ask the tough question here. Let me minimize this for a second. Let me come over here. Let me take this off, and I'm gonna minimize this. In the U.S., we have some protections regarding peaceful protesting and things like that. Was that a peaceful protest? Do you agree in the manner in which she tried to interfere with a federal operation? The government's take on it is this: she effed around and found out. That's the government's take. They're saying we are conducting They're saying it's legal. I'm not smart enough to understand the legalities of all of this. I do think that, and this is where I might lose some people. So I want to make sure that I say this as clear as I can. Immigration enforcement is something that a nation should do. And I've said this on prior live streams. And what I mean by that is this, right? There's a segment of people called the passport bros. And some dummies think that you could just go to another country and live there and you don't have to worry about immigration, or they don't fully understand what that means. And I see a comment for Will 4K said, I was talking about the president who was captured accusing him of distributing cocaine in the U.S. Oh, that white girl, meaning that Snow. Got you. My bad. I said the wrong thing. It's Darian was in the building and said, good morning, happy Thursday, and happy Zepdate. I don't know if you caught the beginning. It's Darian. So I'm going to pause for It's Darian because he was the person that gave me the idea for doing this. And I'm going to share real quick, It's Darian, my my current BMI. So my current BMI at 40.49 almost puts me under category 3. So I'm sitting right at the category 3 line, which is at the 40 kg over M2, which I don't know what the M2 is. If you know, tell me. So my next goal is to get down to 35, which will put me at around 238 pounds. That was the biggest update that I gave when I was giving my Zepdate upbound this morning. I appreciate you tuning in. Now, I was closing out the show talking about the ICE incident and the lady that put her car in front of those ICE agents. To me, there's a right way and a wrong way, and there's a smart way of doing stuff. Now, the friends and loved ones of the 37-year-old who got shot and killed are saying that the person is a peaceful person, that they just wanted to exercise freedom of speech and things and wanted to do stuff in a manner that showed and try to prove to the government that what they're doing is wrong. And I was talking about immigration enforcement because I'm trying to figure out why people think that nations shouldn't worry about immigration enforcement. And let me be clear too, our government has messed up in some of this. There have been people that have been U.S. citizens that have been snatched because of what they look like or what their last name is and held, having their freedoms taken away to where it's taken, to me, what longer than necessary to prove that they're U.S. citizens to get released and then get back to living a normal life. And what I found is also incidents that have occurred like that where there have been no consequences or no remedies given to the people that have been snatched off the streets and then held for longer than necessary to prove that they were indeed U.S. citizens, all because their last name and their skin fits a certain profile. And I think that's jacked up. I think that's jacked up in certain cities, in certain areas. And it seems like I don't know why these areas are targeted either. Is it political reasons? Are these actual areas that situations are occurring in which there's verifiable intel that links these certain cities to certain things? Like Minnesota isn't just having this type of targeted enforcement come out the blue, but it seems to be a state that our nation's focusing on. There were some fraud investigations that have occurred among SNAP and child support benefits. And some of these fraud cases aren't really big mastermind things, but the ones that have been highlighted in the news lately have been cases involving like foreign type names. They haven't been highlighting the ones coming from Jim, Joe, Bob, or Richard. It's been the ones with names like Arturo and African names. Or what's the other nation that seems to be targeted? Was it Tanzania? Those seem to be the areas and the people that's been more highlighted by our government than some of the other fraud, like white collar crimes that have been occurring. That's just my take on it. As Darren said that my BMI is melting away. Hey man, slow, steady progress. Slow and steady. And I am happy about that. Shout out to Pete Liberitz. I always say your name wrong. It's Greek and I don't speak Greek. He said good morning. Hey Pete, appreciate you tuning in. As Darren said, when it comes to these cases, there are so many people whose stories never reach the media. Enforcement is one thing, but is martial law and taking over cities enforcement? And that's my other point that I'm going to highlight with this too, right? Because he's right. Enforcement is one thing. Proper enforcement should work. When I was in Thailand, the last time that I went there, I got stopped by immigration and they asked for my paperwork. Okay. And I complied. It was that easy, that simple. They looked, they check it. They said, all right, thank you, sir. Have a nice day. Enjoy your stay in Thailand. That's it. Now, as I'm walking the streets of Thailand, I definitely look like, I'm not a local national. So in that case, it was the proper enforcement. I didn't just get snatched. And I wish I could find the story. There was a story of a lady in Baltimore, 20 days until it was proven that she was indeed a U.S. citizen. It should not take you getting snatched in 20 days, which is really disruptive. Imagine missing 20 days of work in this economy and you don't have it like that. That can derail a lot of different things, especially if you can't get any remedies against the government after the fact, or it's hard to. Now you then got to go fight to try to get a remedy because you got snatched illegally. For those people that does happen to, because in some cases, like the one in Baltimore, I think there was another person in Florida who was a U.S. citizen who just looked wrong, and federal agents snatched him. And it took longer than necessary for them to prove that they were a U.S. citizen. Things like that aren't right. Things like that aren't right. In Minnesota, witnesses on the ground are saying that she was trying to drive away and did not pose a threat. The Minneapolis mayor, Jacob Frey, came out swinging. He called it self-defense. He called the self-defense claim that the government's trying to say BS and said that the agent recklessly used power. And that's where I said, if I'm going to take a side, the other agents that you had that were there did not draw their weapon. Now, the other agents were also not in front of the car, but why did that agent position himself in front of the car like that? That's my question really at the end of all of this. Now, from the aftermath, to wrap things up, because I have to get to work, things are tense. Protesters gathered immediately once this occurred, and you saw tear gas get deployed in South Minneapolis. The governor is now involved as well. I think his name is Tim Walz, and the city is demanding that the agents leave. I wonder if this is going to be the catalyst of something big going forward. How many other people are going to lose their lives in 2026 frivolously? Now, they've got this victim name and image plastered to try to win in the court of public opinion. Our president came out on True Social, and let me see if I can log into my True Social account real quick and get what the president had to say about this. Let me see if I can sign in. I might not be able to do it that fast. Here we go. No, I don't think I can sign in that fast. Truth Social. All right, let me get in here. Here we go. Moving, you scroll down. I'm gonna see if I can find it. Come on. Let me see. No. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna show what the president had to say on this True Social account. As Darius said, imagine missing 20 days of work and saying that you were arrested or detained. You're guilty until proven innocent. In most cases, your job is gone. Yep. It is that easy and that quick to lose it. And now you're having to fight over something that you shouldn't have had to do in the first place. Where's the True Social page at? The right one. Is this it? I think this is it. Yeah, that's it. Let me click share. All right. So this is what the president had to say. I have just viewed the clip of the event which took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's a horrible thing to watch. The women screaming was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing, and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer, who seems to have shot her in self-defense. Based on the attached clip, it's hard to believe he is alive, but is now recovering in the hospital. He didn't get hit. That's funny. The situation is being studied in its entirety, but the reason these events are happening is because the radical left, here we go, is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. They are just trying to do their job, making America safe. We need to stand by and protect law enforcement officers from the radical left movement of violence and hate. And like I said, I think in this clip, let me see if it shows. Oh yeah, I can't play that one. Let me not finish playing that. But that clip right there, it doesn't show that cop getting hurt or injured. He got out of the way. He got out of the way, pulled his service weapon, fired those shots, and was clearly out of the way. Not surprised that hard to believe and now recovering in a hospital. He didn't get touched. There's a question in the chat. Why is a leader reviewing a clip? Why not the entire thing getting content? That's disturbing. Exactly. And then to post that clip, that angle on his True Social page. It's disturbing, man. It's disturbing. I heard something right before I went live in which our president said that if the midterm doesn't swing and stay full Republican, that he's going to impeach himself or something like that. And I don't know how true that was. I wasn't able to verify that clip as I heard it this morning as I was waking up. But it's hard for certain people, and I'm going to say me, I'm going to put myself in a certain people category, to not think that some of this stuff is a conspiracy, right? And it's hard for me to not go down that rabbit hole. And what I mean by that is, it's hard for me to not think that some of this stuff is manufactured to try to drive people to do certain things. Just like this right here. We just had the big, beautiful bill get passed. And yesterday, and I'm going to share my screen so that y'all know I'm not making this up. Yesterday, our president had asked for an approximately 50% increase in the defense budget to go from the approved by Congress bill that we had that was $901 billion to go up to $1.5 trillion in 2027. You read that right. He's trying to say that this financial boost in defense would allow the U.S. to build its dream military. And this came again from Truth Social, and saying that he's going to ask the president to increase the Defense Department budget in the next fiscal year, especially in these very troubled and dangerous times. What he said on Truth Social was that our military budget for the year 2027 should not be $1 trillion, but rather higher at 1.5. This will allow us to build the dream military that we have long been entitled to, and more importantly, keep our nation safe and secure regardless of the foe. And that the $1 trillion number, because of tariffs and the income that it brings, would easily allow this to happen. And I'm kind of paraphrasing here. Common Sense, which is a nonpartisan federal budget watchdog, said that that type of budget must be rejected, and that to explode the Pentagon budget by a 50% hike is just wasteful, absolutely wasteful. Congress is already poised to approve a 13% increase in spending this year, and we're sitting at $38 trillion in debt. And they're making the claim that we have real needs, both at home and abroad, and none of which will be easier to meet by hitting the gas pedal on the debt crisis. And they're saying that the president's claim that the increase would be offset by tariff revenue just doesn't align, especially with some of the prior promises of $2,000 checks to citizens, bailouts to farmers that have been impacted by the trade war over the recent months, and other things. And I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. But hey, I'm just one man with a voice asking questions. I'll be back online live tomorrow, January 9th, for Wake Up with the Actual King Smith. Thank y'all for tuning in for my Zepdate today, as well as providing y'all's case and y'all's thoughts on the cases that I've outlined today. Hope y'all have a great day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Trumpets blare the golden call. A throne awaits, I rise so tall. Drums like thunder, shake the hall. Royal rope, I wear the weight. Diamonds cut the night, no debate. Heavy is the head, but I'm feeling great. Crown me king, crown me king. Horns will shout, let the kingdom sing. Crown me king, crown me king. Bow to the sound, feel the power I bring. I bring.